Before the stack existed in Magic the Gathering, players had to either flip a coin or quit the game to resolve any disputes. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, and welcome to my video on the evolution of the stack, 25 years of how the stack has changed in Magic the Gathering. And as I said just a moment ago, when Magic the Gathering started, there was no stack. There was no anything. The rules that were handed out along with Alpha basically said, if you come up against a situation where you're not sure what to do, you can both basically agree on something. If that doesn't work, then you can flip a coin. If you don't agree to a coin toss, if both players don't agree to that coin toss, then the game just ends in a draw and everyone takes their ante back because you played for ante back in the Alpha. So that was included in the rules. So there was no stack. It was literally like, I'm going to do this. Well, I do this and I do this. Well, what happens first? Well, we're going to either just agree on something, flip a coin, or the game's over. That's how it started. Now, obviously, can you imagine that kind of a scenario at a tournament right now? That would be obviously a nightmare. So they needed to come up with something to make it more organized. So the first thing they came up with before the stack was called the batch. Now, this was around by the time I started playing Magic, and everything that you needed to know about the prior version of the stack was included in the, see this tiny little rulebook right here? This is a 4th edition rulebook, and these would come inside of starter decks. And all the information you need on resolving fast effects, because that is basically, when it came to other things, the game didn't care. It was literally just, we only care about fast effects in terms of something similar to the stack. So it used batches, and it didn't work the same quite. There are some similarities to the stack, but there are some differences. First of all, back then when there were batches, there was instants and interrupts. So on batches, how it would work is players would start to play, I'm going to play this instant. Fast effects are any instants, interrupts, or abilities that can be played at instant or interrupt speed, okay? So it mentions resolving fast effects in this. So how it works is everybody can play as many fast effects as they want, respond to them back and forth, kind of the same way that you're used to the stack. I don't believe it. I didn't see anything about having the same kind of priority rules. They introduced the priority rules differently with the stack in 6th edition. But back when they were dealing with this particular situation, anybody with the batches, you could go instant, 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 and if somebody played an interrupt, then that interrupted the batch, and basically only interrupts could be played in response to the interrupts, and that would have to be resolved. Now, all of that has been cleaned up and removed from the game, but that is how the stack used to operate, where it was like, okay, everybody put in your fast effects, and the interrupts are the fastest effects, right? So that was basically how it worked in that way. And in terms of how the spells resolved from the batch, very similar to the current day stack with they call it the LIFO, last in, first out. So whatever is on top of the batch, the last thing put into the batch is the first thing resolved, with one really weird exception. And this was one big problem with the rules, guys. Any spell that dealt damage was resolved last, regardless of its placement in the batch. And also, interrupts will throw you for a loop as well, because they specifically reference interrupts in here as counterspells. But there were spells that weren't counterspells at all that were interrupts, that would literally, interrupt spells act kind of like a pseudo split second ability. Very, very odd the way that it worked. And the fact that you had to keep the damage spells until the end. So, for example, using current day stack, if I have a 2/2 creature, and then I go to play a Giant Growth on it to give it +3/+3, and in response to that, you lightning bolt my creature, which would do 3 damage to it. So for 1 red, 3 damage to my creature. What happens is, under the current stack rules, the game goes, okay, lightning bolt happens first, because it's the last thing on the stack, kills your 2/2, and then the Giant Growth tries to happen, but can't because the creature is dead. Now, under these old batch rules, what would happen is, regardless of when the lightning bolt was played, it would be treated as if it was the very first spell played and resolved last. So even if you tried to lightning bolt my creature in response to the Giant Growth, what would happen is my creature would still survive, because the game would go, okay, Giant Growth effect has been applied, and then try and do the 3 damage to it and go, it's too big to die from that. So that was one of the biggest changes, aside from the interrupts being basically changed into instants. We'll talk about that in another video as well. There are a lot of different segments of Magic history, and honestly, the 6th edition rule change was a time of massive upheaval. They changed a lot about the game, but it was needed. A lot of overhaul was required. This system was not as intuitive as the stack. With the fact that you had to remember that damage spells were always resolved last, it was basically like, whatever's last first, unless it happens to mention damage, and then what if it's a spell that does damage and does other things, right? So basically, it got pretty ugly and muddy. As I just mentioned, 6th edition rules, that's when the change happened. That's when the stack was introduced. Now, before we go into that, just to hammer home how insane the batch system really, really was, because I don't think you can quite grasp it fully just from what I'm saying. So I'll give you a visual representation. Now, what I'm going to show you is an image created for the Duelist magazine, which was a magazine created by Wizards of the Coast, and that again is another great subject for another time. There's so many different things to talk about. I'll be here forever if I talk about them all in one video. So this was created specifically for a magazine by the rules manager at the time. So look at this image right now. It's absolutely insane. It is a rat's maze. I mean, you look at it right now, you can see that's clearly what it is. I mean, I like the fun concept, the subterranean design of it and all that. But look at that, guys. Imagine sitting there and trying to parse that out. I've always been really good with rules in all kinds of games. So for me, Magic wasn't that difficult. But I've watched a large number of people struggle with things, and batches were not easy for a lot of people to grasp. So it's good that they moved away from this. Take another good gander at this, and remember, again, this was created by the rules manager at the time, and it was created for an official publication by Wizards of the Coast. This wasn't something somebody made up as a fan to mock it or something. It was like, look at this, I'm going to put it in a This is literally created like, here you go. This is the decision tree for the batches for our game. It's nuts. You know what? Do yourself a favor, pause it, and actually take a good look at it, because it's crazy. All right. We're going to move on, though. Hopefully you did take a look and see how crazy that is. So after that, the 6th edition changes basically turned the stack into what we know now. Now, there are some other things that interact with the stack, like combat damage in a different way, that we will discuss in yet another video, because, again, there's so many different aspects to talk about. So the current stack is similar to the batches in that whatever went on the stack last is resolved, but it doesn't have any sort of extra ridiculous rules. The stack is very good because it's easily represented with Magic cards. You can just take the cards that are being played and stack them on top of each other like that, which is very nice. Whereas with the batch one, you'd have to be sliding out damage cards to the bottom. And also, what you need to remember about the batches only cared about fast effects, right? It wasn't the same thing. It's like, you go and cast, like, let's say I cast an artifact, and in response, you cast an instant or you cast a counterspell. Then you're starting a batch, but the card that I've just cast, my artifact, is not part of that batch. Do you see the difference? The stack incorporates everything but land drops. Playing a land does not incorporate the stack, but all spell casting in Magic uses the stack now, which is far more intuitive and easy to understand than this, I cast a spell, then a batch starts, and the weird rules for batches. So the stack overall has evolved into a far more useful rules construct. I'm a big fan of it. If you have ever wondered about the stack and don't really get a good grasp on it, one of the benefits I can say about MTGO, and I'm not a huge proponent of it, but one of the benefits I can say of it is it's really great for hammering home how the stack works for you and triggers and things like that, and how they will work with the stack, right? So you can always grab an account with that, and it will visually show you the triggers. The visual aid really makes a difference. But anyways, that encompasses the stack from non-existent coin flip all the way up to the current tool that makes tournaments a lot easier to get through than they used to be. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know by clicking like. There are plenty more fun videos like this coming down the pike, the history videos and other excellent stuff. So make sure to subscribe to the channel as well, so that you can know when I'm going to talk out of my face hole. And we will see you for the next time with the purple guy.
Remember, everyone, together we are the 6th color of Magic.
We the best magic!